Let's talk hack squat during pregnancy. Should you use it? Should you modify it? Or maybe just choose alternate exercises for the duration of your pregnancy? Well, the answer to this question lies somewhere in the middle and really does depend on a few different factors, which I'm going to talk about here in this video. But personally, when I think of the hack squat, I think of using it to help increase range of motion in the squat movement pattern or hit depth on your squat, right? Now, most people who maybe can't get into a full barbell back squat find the stability and back support of the hack squat makes it so much easier to get into a full range squat on the hack squat. Now, the reason for this is similar to, say, why you can get greater range on the 45-degree plate-loaded leg press. But I've already done a video on my thoughts on the leg press during pregnancy, so I won't be going into that here in this particular video. But I will just say that when you use the hack squat, you have the same potential to butt wink as you do on a leg press if you're pushing your body past its natural range of motion, and the effect on your spine is exactly the same. Now, when it comes to range of motion, the stability of the hack squat helping you get greater range of motion or helping you get deeper into your squat movement pattern, when thinking of these factors in relation to pregnancy, personally, I prefer to err on the side of caution and limit range of motion, which is why I love box squats during pregnancy. But this is where I'm a little on the fence with the hack squat during pregnancy, because depending on the machine that you're using, you can actually limit the range of motion on the hack squat. And this begs the question though, are you then defeating the purpose of this particular machine by limiting its range of motion? And for me, I'm totally undecided on this, especially considering I limit the range of motion on squats by using box squats during pregnancy anyway. So why not do it on the hack squat? Now, I'm sure some people will agree with me on this point, some won't. But what I will say is this: during pregnancy, the only way I would be using the hack squat is by limiting its range of motion. Personally, I would advise against going through full range of motion on the hack squat during pregnancy for the exact same reasons why I prefer box squats. And that's because of maintaining neutral intra-abdominal pressure and protecting both the pelvic floor and abdominals, which actually brings me to my next point. And that's the muscles targeted and a decrease in core activation or trunk muscle activation compared to, say, barbell back squatting. So starting with your core muscles not being as active, using the hack squat as barbell back squatting. I mean, they've even done studies on this showing trunk muscle activation is significantly greater doing a back squat than using the hack squat in all muscles and phases except for rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack, in the concentric phase. Now, of course, these studies were done on men who weren't pregnant. But when you think of all the things, and I mean all of the things, happening in your body during pregnancy, and the fact that your spine is less stable due to the hormone relaxin affecting your muscles, your joints and ligaments, and then your core and abdominal muscles stretching to allow for the growth of the baby, personally, I'd actually want to go with an exercise that has greater muscle recruitment in the trunk to help protect the spine, not less. Then of course you have the change in the muscles targeted when you decrease the range of motion on the hack squat, which would kind of make it move from an exercise that targets your whole lower body, you know, your glutes, your adductors, hamstrings and quads and hip flexors when going through full range of motion, to a predominantly quad dominant movement and hip flexor, of course. Now again, going back to the typical changes in your body during pregnancy, one of which is the anterior pelvic tilt, which typically places more load on the quads anyway. Now, depending on the reasons why you train, but from my perspective, unless you're, say, I don't know, a bodybuilder who wants to try and grow their quads or needs to grow their quads to help keep their body aesthetically aligned, I'd probably prefer to be training and strengthening a pregnant client in a way that supports what's actually happening in their body. helps keep them as pain-free and mobile as possible. So for me, very quad-focused exercises or isolated quad exercises aren't something that I typically program unless there's a specific reason for them, like rehab or sport-specific, right? But honestly, when it comes to the hack squat, like everything to do with pregnancy, it's going to be totally individual whether you want to use it or not. But if you were looking for, say, hypertrophy or to grow your quads, sure, this could absolutely be a machine that you'd use during pregnancy. But again, I'd only go to partial range as opposed to going to full depth due to things like maintaining neutral intra-abdominal pressure and protecting your pelvic floor and abdominals from abdominal separation. But over the years, the typical pregnant woman that I've trained wants to train for, say, health and well-being. They want to counteract the physical effects of pregnancy on their body and try to maintain or gain strength so that they feel confident going into late stages of pregnancy, birth, and early motherhood. So the hack squat isn't really a machine that I would usually program during pregnancy. And if we're comparing like for like or, similar to similar, I'd actually prefer to give them exercises that have a more natural movement pattern, like a box squat. You can do a front squat or a back squat. You can use the landmine. You can goblet squat. Again, you can use the landmine doing a reverse landmine, or maybe even use heel elevations. So that's it from me today. I hope this video helped. Of course, if you would like more in-depth pregnancy-specific content, feel free to apply to my complimentary but private community, the Preggy Training Crew. The link is in my bio.